My first day at work, I get a call from the police and they're telling me that Nikki and Daria are in a fight and then I need to come home. And I refused. So they called social services, the social worker. She literally looked like she was 14. Nikki said something a little snide and then Daria came back at her with something and within minutes it was one of those knockdown, full-fledged bad fights, like where the coffee table went flying, glass was breaking. And the social worker was just standing in the corner and she was just white as a sheet. And I just looked at her and I just said, leave. And she ran out so fast and I never heard from them again.
Well, in January of 2006, Daria and Nikki's father was shot and killed by a police sniper during a failed bank robbery. Now, Barbara says his death tore their family apart.
After my dad passed, it went to a whole nother level of insanity. The fights escalated because my dad wasn't there as a buffer anymore.
Fights between us were bad. I just could not take being in the same room with her. There was just nothing that she could do right. I couldn't stand her.
Daria and Nikki got into at least 30 physical fights that I could remember. They would wrestle and hit each other. Tables would flip over, windows would break.
One time, she punched me straight in the eye and I had a black eye. Another time, I was 12 years old, my sister was 17. She flipped me over a chair. She ended up taking my arm and grabbing me, and I went over the chair and ended up flipping. I had a cup of hot water on the counter and she threw it in my face.
Threw water at her and she came at me with a knife.
I ended up stabbing the knife into the door, slid down my hand, and had to have emergency surgery. Me and Daria would fight pretty violently. I remember her pulling my hair like so much that she would like grab at my arms, and she's ripped my clothes a couple times.
One time, Nikki threw a metal bowl that had a point to it, and she grabbed it off the coffee table. She threw it at Daria, and the bowl went by her, and it embedded in the wall like halfway. She almost killed her.
Why do you think you've put so much energy into the feelings you have toward your sister?
It's not that they're lasting symptoms of stuff that happened when this all really mostly happened when I was a teenager. I have a pretty severe personality disorder, and that is something you're not born with. That's something you develop. It's like, you know, your coping skills and stuff. And a lot of it I developed when I was a teenager from being hit by her and being turned by her and being abandoned by her, being left alone.
I have bipolar so bad that at one time I literally thought I could control the weather. I was having hallucinations, audio hallucinations, and I still don't use my mental health to.
You
oh,
use
my
your
mental health to do this and my mental health to this. I still
she
get up
uses
every
her
morning
mental health and
I get in
addiction as
job.
every excuse.
Yeah, but
you
I
use
still
that
work,
in your
don't
mental
I?
health.
I did it
I'm
all
gonna
by
calm
myself,
down right
didn't
now.
I? You just got
How
your
do y'all
first
know
job.
this? You haven't
going
seen
to
each other in
explain this
5
to you.
years.
My mother.
We have different mental illnesses. Your mental illness affects you in different ways as my mental illness. My
I
mental
don't
illness,
care
I
about
have
mental
such
illness.
bad
I still have to
anxiety.
support myself and still have to make my own life.
And I'm 23 now and I have my own apartment. I've been in college for the last 3 years, which maybe I remind everybody that I got myself into and paid for myself.
Can I ask you something?
I'm sorry, it's just so much anger. I have so much
I
anger.
don't want it in my life.
I get that. Since you say that you're suffering from mental disorders, that you have anxiety and it's paralyzing in your life, and you say that you suffer from bipolar disorder, I would think that you would have compassion for others
I thought that.
that are dealing with the same things, since you know
I have a lot more
how
compassion
difficult
than
it
she
can
does.
be to deal with a mental illness. I would think that you would have some compassion for your sister, knowing that she's paralyzed by a mental illness condition as well.
You don't understand, like, I have to hear from my mother crying about my sister.
She does the same thing with you.
Can you let me talk?
She
I
cries
let you
all
talk.
the time about you,
I
about how
sit
she's
here and I
afraid
get
that
you
she's
sound
going
good,
to
aren't you?
die.